switch to the NBA now.
We are.
Mark Cuban is selling a majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks, and it is to the Adelson family. I don't know much about them, but they are the majority shareholders of the Las Vegas Sands.
Okay,
which
so
I guess is a casino.
So this is why I don't think it's that big of a story, because Mark will still have majority control in basketball operations. If he was giving up basketball operations, I think it'd be a much bigger story. There's a lot of speculation out there. Again, regardless of how you feel about your politics, your Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, there's a lot of speculation out there that Mark Cuban could be running for president in 2024. I don't think that's the case. He's also leaving Shark Tank, by the way, for all you Shark Tank fans out there.
Which I am very sad about, because he's my second favorite shark behind Robert Herjavec. So I'm very sad about that.
And there's a fun fact for you, but I think it's more you mentioned these new owners have a lot to do, and being in the casino industry. I think Mark Cuban's going to pretty much open up a sports betting place in Dallas. That's what I think he's doing with a partnership here with these new owners. And let's be honest, even if he doesn't have a majority stake in the team anymore, what really matters is who's running the basketball operations. Let's take, for example, our team. Dan Gilbert is still the majority owner. He's not really involved in the day-to-day anymore. It's more Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff running the show. So Mark Cuban is still writing the checks, basically, when it comes to that. Deciding Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are going to work. We'll see how it all works out. They've had a pretty good season here to start. But Dallas, really, ever since they won the 2011 championship, Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, those guys knocking off that Heat team, they've been a very good team, but they have never really gotten back to that premier, I would say, franchise that they were in the early 2010s, even with Luka Doncic.
I would agree with you. I do think this is a bigger story than what you think, although I understand your perspective on it. I also agree with you that I don't think he's running for president in 2024. I think it's too short of a turnaround, being that the calendar is about to flip to 2024 in just a few weeks. But I do think it's interesting that he's maybe taking a bit of a step back. I hope, though, that even with this move, he's still around in the NBA. I get it. He's still going to be doing basketball operation stuff. But, a huge thing is when you go to a Mavericks game at American Airlines Center, you know that Mark Cuban is going to be down on the sidelines or have a seat up.
I don't know about that, because in the interview I read, he does want to spend a lot more time with his family. Back in the day, all of his kids were the same age. Now his daughter's in college, his other kids in high school. They're at different places. He wants to spend more time with them. I think that has something to do with this as well.
Sure, I agree.
I'm going to throw this out there, because this was a theory that was brought up by somebody. I'm not going to name the person. But is it possible that Mark Cuban knows what the NBA is getting from its media rights deal that's supposedly, happening right now? They're negotiating with a lot of these networks. If he knows what they increase in, the old adage, buy low, sell high. If he knows what the NBA is getting and all these teams are going to be worth more, potentially selling off now and getting that bigger profit when the new TV deals come in, that is a very smart investment as well.
I hadn't even thought about that, but that is a very plausible idea, which, just speaking about that new media rights deal, I heard that once the NBA locks up that new media rights deal that you were just speaking about, they're going to look to expand and add Las Vegas.
We just had this
Seattle.
conversation. We just had this conversation. I don't know if you recall a couple weeks ago.
No, I know. I'm just bringing that back up because you brought up the new media rights deal.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated to see what goes on with that. But going to the current NBA,
Yes.
there are a couple of teams that are a surprise this year. The Orlando Magic are somehow right now the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Houston, they're right in the thick of it. I believe they're the 7th seed right now in the Western Conference. Now, I
No, they're
predicted.
the 8th seed right now.
Okay. Well, I predicted both of these teams. I thought Houston in the West, I thought they were going to be good. I weren't sure if they were going to be a play-in team because of the competition in the West. I thought Orlando was going to be a play-in team. I love the young talent they have there. I think they just need to put it all together. I said last year, I felt like Orlando was going to become the new Cleveland Cavaliers. Remember when the Cavs came out of nowhere a couple years ago? Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Jared Allen. They took a big leap. And then, obviously, I think Orlando is on that same path. Do I think Orlando's going to be able to keep this up? No. I don't even remember the Cavs from a couple of years ago. They were at this point in the year, the 2 seed or the 3 seed. They ended up dropping out all the way to the play-in because of injury and other factors. Right. Listen, I don't think Orlando's better than Milwaukee. I don't think they're better than Boston, Philly, Miami, Cleveland. So I don't think this is going to last. But it's a fun story. Houston's probably right where Orlando will be. So to answer the question, I'm a little bit more surprised by Orlando. But in the long run, this is why I keep telling you, man, November basketball is a different sport once you get to February, March, and April.
No, and you're right there. But just looking at the standings, I wasn't expecting either of these teams to be where they are in their respective conferences. That's why I asked the question. But you could kind of see the pieces falling into place for Orlando going back to...
you could see it last year.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. With Houston, I'm a little bit more surprised by the Rockets right now because the Rockets over the past couple seasons have just been absolutely terrible.
No, but they've been stockpiling players. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr., Jabari Smith. There's a reason why James Harden wanted to go there.
Yeah, but still, even though they did end up getting Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, but even still, even with those additions, I'm like, okay, the Rockets, they might be a fringe play-in tournament team at best.
That's what they will end up being, by the way, because that's what they are right now.
Okay, but still, right now, they're an 8 seed, right on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. If a couple things go their way, they could be a top 6 seed right now. That's not to say they will be a top 6 seed. I'm not saying that. But the fact that Houston has put themselves in a position to potentially be a top 6 seed, that's why I would say they're a little bit more surprising.
Yeah, my golden rule in the NBA when it comes to standings has always been I don't look at the standings until December 25th, Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I say the same about baseball, Josh, so it's no offense with the NBA. When I look at the MLB standings, June 1st. That's when the MLB season sort of starts to me. That's when you know who you are. It takes you a couple months to understand your rotation, your lineup. Same thing with basketball. It takes you to about Christmas to understand.
Yeah, it takes you games. Yeah. I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties on Brandon's end. You good over there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think
we're technical difficulties here live on Championship Rings.
Yes, we are. But we're going to move on. No, not that. There we go. Okay.
We're not talking about that yet. Okay. We are back. For the record, we are back. We can just morph this into one video. Sixers Celtics, they're facing off for the 3rd time.
Yes. Already the 3rd time this season, they are facing off this season. But this will be the first matchup in Boston. They are 1-1 on the season, in the season series, with Philly taking the first game, Boston coming back and winning the second game. I'm shocked that they this is already going to be the third game in the regular season series. I would have thought they would spread this regular season series out, have it be like do one game in like November, in mid-November, do the next game in like January or whatever, and then have the final two be in March and April, so that you can have these two teams facing off when it really counts, like what you were just saying in the previous segment.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It's a weird scheduling, Kirk. I don't get it. You're not going to get, as I keep telling you, you're not going to get a lot out of these November matchups. When both of these teams, I'm assuming, will be in the market for a move at the trade deadline that could completely change their team.
Yes, but regardless, it's still an intriguing game because the Sixers and Celtics, they both feel like true contenders in the Eastern Conference, along with the Milwaukee Bucks. I would say they are the three top teams in the East right now, despite Orlando being the current number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't even trust Philly yet. They got to show me they can beat Boston in a 7-game series.
I would agree with you. I mean, look at what Jason Tatum did in Game 7 against the 76ers last year and how Joel Embiid and James Harden did not show up for the Sixers in Game 7 last year. That was absolutely atrocious.
Well, as I told you, it really did not matter if they showed up or not. Didn't Philly win Game 5? If I recall, they were up 3-2 in that series. They went into Game 6. It was in Philadelphia, and Boston came back on them and won that game. And at that moment, I know we were not doing a show yet, but I came on Brandon's World the next day, and I said, that's it. The series is over. Boston's going to beat Philly by 30 because the Sixers, I like the Spurs. You mentioned the Ray Allen shot, 2013 Game 6, Spurs Heat. When Ray Allen hit that shot, the Spurs were deflated for Game 7.
Oh, yeah.
The Sixers were deflated for Game 7 against Boston. So you can almost disqualify that performance, in my opinion, because it didn't matter if Boston put me and you out there. We could have beat the Sixers that night.
On that note, super quick, I would also throw Draymond Green's suspension for Game 5 of the finals. You know, talking about that whole teams getting
but there's a difference between there's 3 games left and there's 1 game left.
Sure, that's fair, but I don't think once Draymond was suspended for Game 5, I don't think the Warriors recovered. So to me, it's the same idea.
I agree, but at least they can beat it hard in Game 7. Game 7, as we know, was obviously a back and forth affair.
Sure, but yeah, I don't like that this is already the third game between the Sixers and Celtics. I wish it was more spread out and we could get this matchup, on Christmas, for example, and then the fourth game could be in March or early April, so we can see what these teams look like going into playoff time. And maybe it could be if Boston wins this game, for example, then Philly gets the 4th seed or whatever, and Boston ends up as the 2 seed.
I'll be honest. I think one of the reasons why the NBA did not schedule great games for Christmas this year, they are hurt that the NFL has taken over their day, and they know it. And there's nothing that they can do about it.
Yeah. I'll say this. As a Cavs fan, I wish we were I wanted to host a Christmas Day game. And you know who I wanted the Christmas Day game to be against?
The New York Knicks.
No. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the Boston Celtics.
See, and as a bigger fan, obviously, of the NFL than the NBA, I was hoping the Cavs did not get a Christmas Day game because I will not be watching Christmas basketball. It will be 3 games of football, and the NBA can excuse me, and they can get their lowest ratings ever again. And I'll see the NBA in February when the Super Bowl ends.
Fair enough.